This woman is a freshman in college. Let's call her Ryder. One day, she's walking home from her friend's house, through the park, and that's when a man jumps out and attacks her. And he does something to her that I can't say, but it starts with an R. And then he runs away. And the police can't find him anywhere. But a few months later, Ryder is walking down the street and she happens to bump into the man who attacked her. This guy. And his name is Broadwater. So she calls the police. Police arrest him. He goes to trial. They use hair analysis to tie him to the crime scene. And he's eventually sentenced to prison for years. Later on, Ryder writes a memoir about her experience in the park that day, and it gets published, and the book is called Lucky. It sells over 1 million copies, and it launches her career as a professional author. A few years later, Ryder finishes her second book called The Lovely Bones. And it blows up to selling 10 million copies that Peter Jackson gets involved and makes it into a movie starring Mark Wahlberg. And it's so successful to the point that it catches this guy's attention, Timothy. Now, Timothy owns a production company, and he wants to turn Ryder's first book, Lucky, into a movie. So Timothy gets the rights and he funds the movie and he starts developing it. And Victoria Pedretti from You is supposed to star in it, and it's going to be a huge hit. I mean, everything is going great. Until Timothy starts researching the book so they can properly turn it into a movie. And he notices a lot of things don't add up. So what's not adding up is... Okay, let's take it back. Broadwater's in prison for 16 years and he gets right out around the same time Lucky is first published. And this whole time he has claimed he's innocent. He even appeals to get his conviction overturned, but his appeals get rejected. Even after he's out of prison, his appeals still get rejected. He pays to get a polygraph test, he passes it, but that doesn't help the appeals. And he's still an ex-convict. So of course, now he has to register as an SA offender. So now he has a lot of trouble finding a job or making friends. Eventually he finds a nice woman and they get married and she wants kids and he does too. But he refused to have kids because of the stigma they would have if he became a father and he had that on his record. So he doesn't have kids. Now, fast forward to Timothy. So Timothy is researching the book and things in the story aren't adding up. Like when police ask Ryder to pick her attacker out of a lineup, she picks this guy, who's allegedly a plant. When actually, Broadwater is this guy. There's a lot of little things like that he finds. So Timothy's like, no, I cannot fund this movie anymore. He refuses to continue funding the project, so they fire him. But he becomes so invested in this case that he hires a private investigator to investigate the case further. The private investigator then investigates and turns everything they find over to Broadwater's attorneys. These attorneys then reinvestigate the case and they find a lot of new things. Like that hair analysis has since widely been discredited as junk science. So they end up filing a motion to overturn Broadwater's conviction, and eventually a judge agrees to hear the case, and after 40 years of fighting, the conviction is finally overturned. So then Ryder, of course, posts a written apology to Broadwater, saying that she will forever be sorry. The publisher stops publishing the books, the movie is no longer in production, and Broadwater sues the state for taking 16 years of his life. Ultimately, the state settled with him for $5.5 million. And now Timothy and his production company are now making a documentary about Broadwater called Unlucky. Just to confirm, Ryder had been assaulted in the park that day, just by a different man. Subscribe for more.